What is cracking, and welcome back to the channel once again with Exhausted. So yeah guys, I've just got back from a vaccination at the doctor's appointment because apparently I needed that. And yeah, when I got back home, these have arrived in the post, an Injector Rebuild kit. So yeah, if you can't guess already, what we're doing today is we're rebuilding the injectors on the MX-5 because they were pissing out fuel, and that's a massive, massive fire hazard. We're not going to be going on a car rally with fuel all in the engine bay because we'll ruin everything. So yeah, I don't want to ruin any clean clothes, so I'm going to quickly whip on some dirty clothes and we'll catch up outside in the garage and start rebuilding these injectors. Right then, so we're in the garage. I've whipped over my coats. I've left these white trousers on. I'm either going to massively regret that or not, because then I won't have to change again later when I'm going out to watch the football again and have a couple Stellas. But anyway, what comes in our kit? So we've got all of the O-rings and rubber seals, and then we've got a couple of inlet filters which go in the top of the injectors to basically filter anything out of the fuel which doesn't want to go into your engine. So yeah, without no further ado, let's hop into the video and start whipping out the fuel rail. So we want to take a couple of major precautions before filling around the fuel system. First one being, if we open up this fuel box, we've got a big black relay in here, which we're going to pop up. That's the fuel pump relay. And what we're going to do, we're going to crank it over for a few seconds to relieve any pressure from the fuel rail. Next up, if we pop open our fuel filler cap and run around here, just going to whip this out. That's going to relieve any fuel pressure in the tank, as you could hear. All of that pressure coming out. So we'll leave that there. And we're going to obviously crack open our boot and remove the negative battery terminal on the battery. So once we've removed our negative battery terminal, we can come around to the front of the car and start taking out this fuel rail. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to remove our PCV hose. We've got this little thing here which needs to be taken off, unplugged. We're going to unplug the connection to our fuel rail, so just to get it out of the way. We've got 4 plugs, 1 on each injector, which need to also come out. Just like, yeah, simple as that. And then on the 1.8, we've got 3 14mm bolts. One there, one there, one there. On the 1.6, there's only 2, but it's very similar. Basically, you want to move everything out of the way of the fuel rail, and then when everything's been moved out of the way, we'll catch up and start removing this fuel rail. So now we've moved everything out of the way off the fuel rail, we're going to take a couple of precautions. I haven't got any kitchen towels, so I've got a roll of blue roll, and what we're going to do is we're going to lay this down absolutely everywhere. So we're going to be removing these 2 hoses. The first one is the return, the bottom one is the feed. If you didn't know, remember which one's which, or you can rewatch this video and then you'll know which one's which. But yeah, we're going to be removing both of those so we can completely take out the fuel rail. So we're going to cover this whole area down here in loo roll to ensure that any fuel spillages get soaked up. So then once we've done that, we're going to remove both of these hoses from here. We've got 2 hose clamps, 1 on each one. Pop them off and then these will come off. They can be quite tight, but since I've removed these already, they'll be okay. Just, yeah, use some mole grip pliers and just give them a nice wiggle and they'll come off. Making sure not to put too much stress on these actual hard lines because we don't want to crack them, because that would be a nightmare to replace. Once we've taken off those, I'm just going to go ahead, remove all 3 of these 14mm bolts. You've got a black spacer between the fuel rail and the head. Be sure you don't lose these, so as you take them out, take out one at a time, because I've dropped these before and they can fall into the most awkward places and take absolutely ages to find them. So yeah, be very careful with these 3 black spacers. Put them to one side. I always put them in the cam cover, and that will stop you from losing them. And let's just take a minute to look how absolutely crap my engine bay looks at the moment. Like, all this work has taken its toll and scratched off most of the paint. This really needs a freshen up. But yeah, that's going to happen as soon as the Forever Rally's over. We're going to be whipping out the engine, stripping down the engine bay, doing a wire tuck, neatening it all up nicely, and obviously giving it a nice new coat of paint. I haven't exactly decided what colour the engine bay is going yet, but it's going to be epic. So now, as you can see, both the hoses come off our hard lines and there is nothing down there. We've got the 4 holes going into the cylinders where the injectors would sit normally. Now, because I've had 2 leaks here over the last week or so, and I don't know where they've come from, but I'm going to make sure that this time, when they're reinstalled and they've been rebuilt, that this is actually perfect and it's not going to leak. So yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be extra careful cleaning up all of those holes to make sure that there's no dirt or anything like that in them. Then we've got a nice clean mating surface for the rubber seal to mate against. So yeah, we'll catch up back in the garage when we're going to be rebuilding these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a cotton bud and clean up all the way around those holes, making sure nothing falls into the cylinders. So we've cleaned up all the holes where the injectors sit into on the head of the engine, and as you can see, this is our problem injector. It is an absolute mess. If I take off this O-ring, you can see it's split here. Let's just pop that off. Just like so. You can see I've used the sealant on it while it's covered, but yeah, there, right there, is split. And that's where the fuel's leaking out. If I can just tear it in half because it's fucked. So yeah, we'll bang that down to one side. Now I'm going to rebuild this whole one because this one here also looks like it's a bit squished. So we'll whip that one off and give this injector a nice clean up with our paper. Just to get rid of any of this sealant which I had on there, because yeah, I just used that as a temporary bodge, to be honest. You shouldn't use any sort of sealant on there. I used like a special paste, but still, like, don't do that. It's just dangerous. It was just to take it on a quick test drive to test out the launch control flat foot shifting. But anyhow, you don't want to be driving that at all like that, because yeah, it's not safe whatsoever if you have a fuel leak in the engine bay, because that's going to set on fire pretty easily if it goes anywhere near anything hot. And even if it doesn't, it can still set on fire pretty easily anyway. So as you can see, we've got that all nicely cleaned up, which is banging. So what we're going to do, just have a look in these. The top of that one does look okay, but let's just have a look, see if we've got any sealant in there, because if we do, then that's not good basically. No, that seems fresh as a pickle. Nice. Clean. Cool, that seems bangers. Let's have a look at these ones and compare them. This is basically our rebuild kit, by the way. So if I whip this open, I'm just going to whip open the section for the filter, or for the inlet filter. That looks calm, looks sweet as pickle. So yeah, we won't bother changing these yet. We may as well save them for when we actually need them, that we've already got them basically. But all you're going to do to rebuild this and to take this out is it can be quite tight in there, and you don't want to ruin anything else. So you want to get a screw which is going to be big enough that it will basically thread in there, but not too big that it's going to break through the outer casing, which is this little gold bit. Let's see if I look over here. You've got a silver bit and a gold bit. The gold bit's the bit that comes out. You want it to thread into that, but not into the outer casing, otherwise you're obviously going to have a leak there. And then once it's threaded in, you can just use like a pair of pliers and pull that out nicely, and that will all come out. And then it's as simple as putting this down in a vise. You don't want to hammer the new one in on a table, because that could dent the other side. So we're going to put this in a vise, put your new one in, and with a block of wood over the top so you don't dent it, just slowly and gently tap it into place. And that's how you change the inlet filter. But yeah, let's crack on to putting these O-rings on. So literally, this is very straightforward. You're just going to get your first one, and that one's going to slide on. So just push it over the top and wiggle it down on there. Now, if it's going to give you a bit of difficulty, we can always put a bit of engine oil on that. That's perfect to use as a lubricant. Let's give this another go from that way. Cool. So that's being quite difficult to go on. So I'm going to go and get some engine oil, and then we'll catch up. So yeah, we literally want the tiniest amount. I've just put a tiny drop in the top of that. I'm going to go ahead. Probably best to apply it with one of these actually. Let's put it on there. Nice little coating all the way around the edge of that. And then this should slide on nice and easily now. Or a lot easier than it did before. There we go. Just into place like that, and then slide that down the body, and that's going to be nicely seated on the bottom of there. Now we're going to go ahead and do the exact same with our smaller O-ring. So bit of oil, no, don't spill. Bit of oil around the middle section of our O-ring, so we don't break this, because this is the one that actually failed last time. And we're just going to basically go ahead and push this on gently with your finger, and just pop it into place just like so, and that is literally perfect. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to rebuild all of these. I'm going to go ahead and look at all of these O-rings and basically see if there are any which need to be replaced. We're looking for cracks. We're just looking for basically old rubber, if there's anything in it whatsoever which is going to cause a leak. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and look around all of these, and then we'll catch up once these have all been refurbished, and once they're all good and I'm happy with them, I'll go ahead and reinstall them, and I'll tell you how to do that properly. Because when I did it before, I cocked it up and I split the O-ring, which you can see lying on the table. So yeah, we'll catch up in a second. Alright, sweet. So all of our injectors are all good now. We're going to go ahead and grab our fuel rail and just lay it down like so. So we've got all of our bits facing upwards and we're ready to reinstall them. So the differences I'm going to do from when I did it before is I'm going to install all the injectors into the fuel rail to make sure they're properly seated in here and to make sure they go in nicely without damaging this O-ring, because this is the one which is going to get damaged rather than the one at the bottom. And I'm also going to put a slight coat of oil around these O-rings so they go in a lot easier and to provide a nice seal. Now we've got all of the injectors seated in the fuel rail and all the O-rings are lovely, what we've done is we've gone ahead and oiled all of the bottom O-rings which go into the head of the engine to ensure that they have a nice seal. Now it's going to be quite difficult to orientate the fuel rail with the injectors already installed onto it into that's kind of quite a tight area in the engine bay. But yeah, this is the best way to do it, and it's going to ensure they're all properly seated. So yeah, I'm going to flick to a time lapse of me installing the fuel rail, and we'll catch up when it's done. Right, so we've now got the ignition on, and as you know, on a Turbo MX-5, basically, if we go over here from the diagnostic box, it opens, the fuel pump's continuously on, because the fuel pump pin is grounded, so that basically means the fuel pump's on all the time, otherwise your car won't start. Now, if we have a look down here, I do not see any fuel leaks anymore, which is great. That one looks a bit shiny, but that's the oil on the top of it, I'm pretty sure, because I can't see it leaking out. So, success. Fuel injectors are not leaking. Right, so after 2 or 3 attempts over the last few days, we finally got to the bottom of the problem, and there's no more fuel leak, which was the only main issue we were going to have with the Rally, and that is all sorted, because I'm not driving like hundreds of miles with a fuel leak in the engine bay, because to be quite honest, I want to be alive still by the time we get back, and I want to still have an MX-5. But yeah guys, I'm going to leave the video there. I know it was a short one, but yeah, I thought I'd make a video on doing the injectors anyway, in case any of you guys are having a similar sort of problem with fuel leaks in your engine bay. That kit cost $19.99, which is a bit of a bargain, I think, considering it comes with all of that. And now we've got spares, just in case any of the other ones fail in the future, which is sick. But yeah, anyway guys, massive thanks for watching. Smash that thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe down below and turn on the notification bell so you are automatically updated whenever the latest exhausted video comes out. And yeah, until the next time guys, adios.